Hello and welcome to another lesson from Level Up Mathematics. In today's lesson, we will be exploring measurement conversions. Now, we can convert from one unit of measurement to another by multiplying by a ratio that is in the form of a unit rate. Let me give you an example of what that means. In example 1, it says the length of a ruler is 12 inches. There are approximately 25.4 millimeters in 1 inch. What is the length of the ruler in millimeters? Now, the first thing I want you to do is either highlight or underline your unit rate here. And the unit rate in this problem was 25.4 millimeters in 1 inch. Remember, a unit rate has a denominator of 1, all right? Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to write down what information you were given or what your original amount was. In this case, you have 12 inches. That's the length of the ruler. They want you to convert that 12 inches to centimeters. So you're going to multiply it by a unit rate. Now, your unit rate is 25.4 millimeters in 1 inch. So you have to decide which one of those numbers is going to go in the numerator and which one is going to go on the denominator. Now, the way I do it is whatever unit you have here, that's the unit that will go in the denominator. So in this case, I'll put 1 inch in the denominator and 25.4 millimeters will go in the numerator, all right? Then you're just going to multiply your original amount times your unit rate and see what you get. But before we do that, remember we can cancel inches with inches because one was in the numerator and one was in the denominator. And what we have left over is 12 times 25.4 millimeters. So I'm going to come over here and multiply 25.4 times 12. So 4 times 2 is 8. That'd be 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 0 would be 5. Drop a 0. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 2 is 2. Add that all up. And then, most importantly, you need to remember there was one number after the decimal here, which means I must move my decimal in one place. So that means there are 304.8 millimeters in 12 inches. All right, let's try that process again. The distance between two towns is 140 kilometers. There are approximately 8 kilometers and 5 miles. So highlight the rate that you were given, all right? Now, take your original amount. Well, let's see what the question is first. What is the distance between the two towns in miles? So take your original amount, 140 kilometers. And it's important that you put the units because that's the only way you're going to know what goes in the numerator and what goes in the denominator. So because my units are kilometers, in my rate that I'm going to multiply by, I must put the kilometers in the denominator and I'll put the miles in the numerator. All right. Now I'm going to cancel the kilometers with the kilometers, and what I'm ending up here is 140 times 5 divided by 8. So 140 times 5, 20, would be 700 divided by 8. So let's see how many times 8 will go into 700. 8 goes into 78 times. That's 64. Subtract and bring down. 8 goes into 67 times. That'd be 56. Subtract, add a decimal place, and drop a 0. 8 goes into 45 times. So this would be 87.5 miles. Is equivalent to 140 kilometers. All right, example 3. Terry ran 8 kilometers. 1 mile is approximately equal to 1.6 kilometers. How many miles did Terry run? So I'm going to highlight my unit rate here. 1 mile is equal to 1.6 kilometers. So I'm going to take what I was given, 8 kilometers, and multiply it by my unit rate. The kilometers should go on the bottom, and the 1 mile goes on the top. So when I multiply this, I can cancel the kilometers, and I get 8 times 1, which is 8, divided by 1.6. Now remember, when we're dividing by decimals, our divisor must be a whole number. So I'm going to multiply those both by 10, and I get 80 divided by 16. Now 80 divided by 16 is 5. So our answer would be 5 miles. All right. Jessica is 4 foot 3 inches tall. There are 2.5 centimeters in 1 inch. What is Jessica's height in centimeters? So our unit rate is comparing 2.5 centimeters in 1 inch. So we're comparing centimeters and inches. But notice our given information is feet and inches. So I want to convert that to all inches. So there are 12 inches in 1 foot. So this would be 4 times 12 plus 3, which is 48 plus 3, which is 51 inches. So Jessica is 51 inches tall. Now when we multiply it by our unit rate, we want the 1 inch to go on the bottom and the 2.54 centimeters to go on the top. That way the inches will cancel out, and I'm left with 51 times 2.54. So 2.54 times 51, that would be 4, 5, 2, 27, 2, 12, so 4, 5, 9. Now, there are 2 numbers after the decimal, so I'm going to move my decimal in 2 places, and this would be 129.54 centimeters. Example 3. 1 mile is equal to 1.6 kilometers. If the distance between 2 cities is 3 kilometers, how many miles apart are the 2 cities? Pause the video and try this problem on your own. When you're ready to check your answer, press play. All right, welcome back. Let's see how you did. I said 3 kilometers, and then I put, in my unit rate, I put the 1.6 kilometers on the bottom so that the kilometers would cancel out. I put the 1 mile on the top. So this ends up being, with my kilometers cancel out, it ends up being 3 miles divided by 1.6. So I need to rewrite that as 30 divided by 16. All right, so let's come over here. Say 16, we'll go into 30 one time. So 30 minus 16 would be 14. Bring down the 0. Let's see, how many times will 16 go into 140? Let me do a ratio table here. If I double that, I get 32. If I double that, I get 64. If I double that again, that would be 128. So I couldn't double it again. Oh, what if I add the 1 and the 8 to get 9? 128 plus 16, would that be 128 and 16, 2, 3, 4, 140. Oh, that's just a little bit too much. So we're going to go with 8 times. So that's 128. 10 minus 8 is 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. Bring down a 0. So that would go in, let's see, about 7 times. So I'm going to stop right here because the problem told me to round to the nearest tenth. And 1.87 is going to round to 1, so I'm going to say approximately since we rounded, approximately 1.9 miles. All right. Now, many times when solving measurement conversion problems, especially on standardized tests, where they give you multiple choice answers, all we need is an estimate and not exactly an exact answer. So in these last two problems, we're just going to get an estimate and see if we can find the correct answer among our answer choices. So it says a building has a height of 15 feet. So that's what we're starting with. And there are approximately 3.28 feet in 1 meter. So I'll put the 3.28 feet in the denominator, the 1 meter on the top. Which measurement is closest to the height of the building in meters? So the feet will cancel out, and I'm left with 15 meters divided by 3.28. Now, because we are estimating on this one, this is approximately 15 divided by 3, because 3.28 is very close to 3, which is 5. So I'm looking for an answer that's very close to 5 meters. So look through your answer choices. The only one even close to 5 meters was answer choice A. And in fact, if you would have worked that out with long division, you would have got the same exact answer. Okay. Example 5. Chris bought 10.4 gallons of gasoline. So that's our original amount, 10.4 gallons. And there are approximately 3.8 liters in 1 gallon. So I'll put the 1 gallon on the bottom and the 3.8 liters on the top. The gallons will cancel out, and we're left with 10.4 times 3.8. Now, since we're just estimating that here, I'm going to estimate the 10.4 as 10, and I'll estimate the 3.8 as 4. So that's approximately 40 liters. So I want to look through my answer choices and notice there's only one answer that's close to 40 liters, and that would be C, 39.52 liters. And that concludes today's lesson, Measurement Conversions.